Welcome to this webinar on examples of nature-based solutions in food systems for the Food Systems Innovation Challenge. What are we going to do today? Well, I will start with an introduction to this challenge. I will tell you a little bit more about the challenge. And then we have 4 speakers. You see them here on screen and we will introduce them later. Then we end in an hour with some questions and answers. I will be your host of today. My name is Mirjam Troost and I'm coordinating the Food Systems Innovation Challenge. To my right side, you see Yasmin. Yasmin, can you appear on screen and quickly introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. So good to see you in this webinar. My name is Yasmin. I work with Miriam on the Food Systems Innovation Challenge. I'm very excited to be in this webinar today with you.
Okay, thank you, Yasmin. We will see Yasmin later. So if you have questions or remarks during this webinar, please use the chat function and we will answer your questions during the webinar, and we will also have some time at the end of the webinar to talk to you directly. We have some polls prepared for you, so please participate in them. And of course, you can always check our website. You see it here on screen, but we will also put it in the chat. So a little bit more about the Food Systems Innovation Challenge on nature-based solutions. We ask students to form teams of 4 to 8 students. Well, you see they will be selected from each participating university. So this is a challenge arranged for a specific amount of universities, and I will show those universities later. It's a project-based challenge, so we ask you to design and implement a food systems innovation and in your own surroundings. So in your own, maybe in the neighborhood of your own university, but at least in your own country. And we ask you to link to the national pathways to sustainable food systems and to apply nature-based solutions. Well, this combination might be a little bit complicated for you, so that's why we are organizing these webinars, to give you some insight and some inspiration in topics that you can use for your projects. You have to hand in your concept note before the 1st of April, and we will announce the selected teams on the 23rd of April, and from there on we start working with the teams that receive immediately a seed funding of up to €1,000 and mentoring and workshops. Then at the end of September, there will be the finals in Wageningen, the Netherlands. Of course, it's a challenge, it's a competition. So the winning teams, they get award money and a direct ticket to the Youth Food Lab. And Youth Food Lab is an incubation program that is set up by Wageningen University and Research, IAS, and the World Food Forum of FAO. So this is the list of participating universities that I promised to you. So take a look, and if your university is amongst, you can apply with your team through our website. We get the help from coordinators at each participating university. So you see here the names and the pictures of the coordinators at each university. If you want to directly contact them, please send us at studentchallenges@wurp.nl an email, so I can connect you to the right coordinator. I will put the email later in the chat. There will be info sessions at each university, so take a quick look. This list is also on our website. Some of the info sessions were already done, and there's even one going on right now in Bangladesh. As said before, we can connect you to the coordinator, so there's always room for getting more information. For individual WURST students, I also ask you to connect to me. I'm the coordinator at Wageningen University and Research. On Thursday, we have an on-campus info session, so you are welcome to come to the Plus Ultra 2 building at 12:30. It's also on the website. So 1st of April is the deadline, and you will find the registration form again on our website. So I think you know what to do now. If you are interested, go to the website. There are 2 registration forms, one for teams, where you have to write a concept note, and one for the individual students from Wageningen University and Research that want to join. and we will later on match them with the teams abroad. The timeline is we have the kickoff webinars now, 1st of April deadline, 23rd of April, the selected teams are announced, and then the real work starts with the grand finals in Wageningen end of September. And then with the winning teams, we will continue another half a year in an incubation program. On the 11th of March, we will organize a next webinar on how to write a concept note. And then on the 18th of March, you have the last chance to get in direct contact with us. And we have a Q&A session about the challenge. So check it out. This challenge is not possible without our partners. You see the partners here on screen, and below you see all the participating universities that are working with us. So this was really a glimpse about the challenge. Once again, I will put our email address in the chat, so please reach out directly if you have more questions. So I don't want to spend any more time talking. So I want to invite Yasmin to introduce the first speaker. And well, everybody have fun, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much, Miriam. So today we have 4 very interesting speakers that will share with you the project and studies related to nature-based solutions in the food system context. So first we will start with Jonas. Let's see, pops it up. Yes. So first I would like to introduce Jonas Steinfeld. Jonas is a researcher on agroforestry based in Brazil. Jonas is associated with the University of Sao Paulo and Wageningen University in Research. He is the Lighthouse Farm Coordinator of Brazil and will be sharing with you more insight on the potential of agroforestry with you today. So, Jonas, can I invite you on stage? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Yasmin, for this introduction. It's a pleasure to share with you something about lighthouse farms here in Brazil. So let's dive right into it. So I will talk a little bit about how complex agroforestry are actually showcasing nature-based solutions here in Brazil. There might be a little bit of a delay in the video because I am actually in Brazil, and I'm starting to think that the distance is causing a bit of a delay between the video and my speaking. But nevertheless, let's go there. So the lighthouse farmers here in Brazil, they really showcase nature-based solutions to produce food. And it's actually quite inspiring when I talk to them. They really started from what is actually nature. And particularly if you're here in the tropics, you will very, very quickly see that nature is not monocultural. If you look at a tropical forest, for example, you will immediately see it's very, very diverse. Nature is very diverse, and it's also full of interactions. If you think, for example, of a tropical forest, you can have easily hundreds of species in a single hectare, and they all interact. And through these interactions, you actually get an ecosystem that is more resilient, and that also stores more carbon and regulates water. So responds to many of the challenges that we have. And if you have a diverse system that's full of interactions, you actually have a complex system. So nature is very complex. And the farmers that we work with here in Brazil, these lighthouse farmers, they really embrace this complexity to produce food in a way that is similar to how nature does it. And before I show you some examples of this, also some images, what are actually the specific challenges that Brazilian farmers have and that these nature-based solutions can help to solve? I'm sure all of you are quite familiar with the biodiversity challenges that exist here in Brazil. So biodiversity is under threat. I'm sure many have heard about the Amazon, but actually the biome that has lost most of its original coverage is the Atlantic rainforest, which is mostly in the southeast of Brazil, which has lost more than 80% of its original coverage already. And also the Cerrado biome, which is more of a savanna type vegetation, has lost almost half of its original coverage already. Brazilian farmers also have a challenge when it comes to input use, and depending on inputs, actually Brazilian agriculture is very productive, but also very, very dependent on fertilizers that are imported from outside countries. So a lot of these fertilizers come from countries like Russia, Morocco, or Belarus, and that is also an increasing risk in the geopolitical situation we have, particularly considering that really more than 80% of these fertilizers are imported. Also, the heavy input use is causing problems with food contamination from pesticides. There is a study that shows that actually a quarter of food produced here in Brazil is contaminated with too high levels of residues, which is a big challenge. And of course, and unfortunately also climate change is a big challenge to Brazilian farmers. Tropical soils are actually very good at storing carbon, also at depth. But over the recent decades, a lot of soils have lost carbon to the atmosphere. That not only contributes to climate change, but it actually also decreases farmers' resilience to droughts. It decreases productivity. The link between soil organic carbon and productivity is very clear here in Brazil, and especially sandy soils are at risk due to droughts and other events that climate change is causing. And so the solutions that farmers have to find, they must actually create habitat for biodiversity, restore biodiversity, cycle nutrients as much as possible to reduce this dependence on outside fertilizers, and store more carbon in the soils, which not only helps mitigating climate change, but also adapting to it, because carbon in soils increases also the water holding capacity, so it can help with droughts. And now I will show you some examples how farmers here in Brazil are actually finding those solutions using agroforestry. And one of these examples is here, Maria Fernanda. She owns a farm in the state of São Paulo in the southeast of Brazil, and she raises cattle, beef cattle. But as you can already see a little bit in the background, she's not only planting pasture, but she also plants rows of timber trees in this pasture. So in this picture you can see a bit more. Roughly every 30 meters there's a row of timber trees in the pasture, and that makes the system an agroforestry system, combining trees and agriculture. And that has multiple benefits. The cattle actually very much enjoy the shade, particularly on hot days. And by now, some 12 years after she has planted her first these systems, she's already selling high-value timber. And Maria Fernanda tells me nowadays, like, I cannot understand anymore how any cattle farmer cannot plant trees, because she has also economically become much more resilient by diversifying her income. Another example that we can find here in the southeast of Brazil, actually quite close to that other farm, is Fazenda da Toca, our main lighthouse farm here in the region. Pedro is the owner of this farm. Ana Clara is a manager on the farm, and they have developed these agroforestry systems to grow citrus. So here you can see a system that's already, the trees are much closer to each other, and you can also see that the citrus is forming a low strata, and there are other trees that form multiple layers on top of this. So you have native trees like Farinha seca, but also exotic ones like acacia and eucalypt. And this is really being grown on large scale on this farm, Fazenda Toca, and they produce and also export organic citrus also to Europe. Another example actually on the same farm is Maridelia. Maridelia grows vegetables on a small plot, but her system is even more diverse. As you can see here, she grows a range of vegetables in consortia, so together she combines different vegetable crops. And in between these vegetable beds, she also plants trees. And these are particularly trees that grow very fast, like mulberry trees and also bananas. And she uses these trees actually to prune them, to cut them regularly, and use this material as a mulch to cover her vegetable beds. And so you not only have more diversity in this system, but actually also more interactions, because the farmer is actually managing these interactions between the species and really increasing the nutrient cycling that's happening here. And so all of these farmers, they represent agroforestry, but different kinds of agroforestry. And actually what we found in our research project is 30 different agroforestry systems here that together represent this gradient of complexity, going from relatively simple system all the way up to very complex systems. And in my PhD project, we actually developed this agroforestry complexity index that quantifies this complexity. And we tested what is the impact of this complexity on these very important ecosystem services like soil fertility, carbon storage, water regulation, nutrient cycling. And what we found, I'm just going to show you one example because I think it's important that we always also show evidence of what these nature-based solutions can do and what they can't do. And here you see a lot of graphs representing these ecosystem services like phosphorus, or cation exchange capacity, or organic carbon storage, or macroporosity, or available water capacity. And you can see a lot of straight lines that go up, and that means that we actually have very robust, significant relationships, so that the more complex systems also really increase these ecosystem services. But what we can also see is that some of these lines are steeper than others. And this is because these three lines in each graph, they represent different soil types. So for very clay soils, loamy soils, and very sandy soils. And what we can see is in general, the more clay soils, the lines are not as steep. They're rather flat. It means that complexity there still has an effect, a positive effect, but it's not as strong. And on the sandy soils is where we see a very big difference between a simple system and a complex system. And that means that this increase in complexity has a very strong effect on the ecosystem services in sandy soils. And that means that it really depends also on the context, right? Not every soil will give you the same response from doing the same thing. And that's how I come now to my conclusions. Applying nature-based solutions requires the ability to manage complexity from farmers, and I think we should be very aware of that. And therefore, also the right degree of complexity depends on every farmer. So I don't think there's a one solution that fits all, but it's really every farmer has its own context. And for example, for a cattle farmer, it might be a more simplified system, and for a smallholder vegetable grower, it could be much more complex. And as we could see, this effect of complexity depends also on other factors like the soil type or the farm size. And so with this, I would like to end on this question, like how can we help more farmers embrace more complexity and be able to manage it well? And I hope that's a nice challenge to work on. And I hope this could give you some ideas on how to use complexity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonas, and thank you for what you have shared with us. You're doing very interesting and important work in Brazil. Recently, we have interviewed Jonas as well as part of the Food Systems Innovation Challenge interview series. We will put the link in the chat later so you can read more about Jonas' work. Next, we have Rosemarie. Rosemarie is the director of Hemus and is representing both Lighthouse Farms and RFBV Hemus today, located in the Netherlands. Rosemarie has a very strong passion for nature-inclusive farming, and today she will inspire us with nature-based solutions that are implemented on these two Dutch lighthouse farms.
Thank you, Jasmin, and welcome to everyone. And it's so funny because I was listening to Jonas and I couldn't agree more with him on his message about complexity. And even we are farming in a totally different environment than is in Brazil. So, my name is Rosemarie Slobbe, and I was asked to tell our story about how we apply nature-based solutions in our company, in our cultivation of crops in the Netherlands. And I will speak on behalf of Hemus and ERF. I have a background as an agricultural economist. I studied in Wageningen a long time ago. And I have worked at the Ministry of Agriculture. I worked as a researcher at Wageningen Economic Research. And I did various jobs in agricultural education. And now, more than 3 years, I work as a director of Hemes. ERF and Hemes are partner companies, and I will tell you more about them in a moment. First, I will give you a small impression of our region. I have to... this was my first slide. So ERF and Hemes are also lighthouse farms in the Netherlands. And as you see at the right side, we are organic farmers. We are located in Flevoland, and that's located in the center of the Netherlands, east of Amsterdam. And it is a so-called polder, and that is reclaimed land from the sea. And we are 4 meters below sea level, as you can see maybe on this picture. Flevoland was designed for agriculture and for urban development. It is really designed by engineers from behind the drawing board, with in their hands their ruler, everything linear and strict, and that's why we have very nice square and large fields for agriculture. On this photo you see in the front, you see some of our land. This is 500 hectares with the average field size of 40-50 hectares. We have a clay soil with about 4 to 6% organic matter, or sometimes even higher. In Flevoland, quite some farmers grow organic. Almost 15% of the agriculture area is organic, and that's by far the highest percentage in the Netherlands. Due to the location close to Amsterdam and the desire for urban development and renewable energy production, there's a very high demand for land. And this high demand makes that the land is very expensive. And so most farmers grow high valuable crops. I think 99% in monoculture. Yeah. I start talking about ERF. ERF is a private company owned by a foundation, and it is started in 1996 with 700 hectares. And ERF leases the land from the national government and has a special agreement that they have to hand the land over to the national government every moment the land is needed for urban development or infrastructure or other purposes. The total hectares managed by ERF has now decreased till 1,100 hectares, but it's still a very large farm for the Netherlands, and I think it's the largest organic farm of the Netherlands. ERF grows more than 15 crops. Most of the land also in monoculture, but I think it is organic, and I think organic farming is already an example of a nature-based solution. The EU definition of organic farming is an agricultural method that aims to produce food using natural substances and processes. And I think a well-known example is, of course, the use of legumes to fix nitrogen. And it's so important to have a healthy soil to feed the plant by soil life, and not so feeding the soil and not only feeding the plant by use of chemicals. And I know there's a lot that can be improved in the organic agriculture, but I think it's a very good base to start with. Until 6 years ago, we grew every crop in a monoculture. For a number of reasons, we started experimenting with strip cropping. And strip cropping is when the crop is divided into strips with other crops in between on the same field. And one important reason was that we were looking for better ways to control the spread of diseases and pests. And at the same time, HEMES was founded by ERF with the aim of investigating how agriculture and nature could be more integrated. And the overall aim is that we want to realize a more resilient cropping system with more biodiversity. And HEMES is managing land for a long period of time and in cooperation with a lot of partners. And we really like to share all the knowledge that we gain to all kinds of stakeholders. And that's how we work together with ERF. So we want to develop a more resilient cropping system with more biodiversity, and we think it's becoming increasingly important as a result of climate change. We have heavy rainfall, we have periods of droughts, always at the wrong time. We have high pressure of pests and diseases, and we have a loss of biodiversity. Well, a little bit same story as in Brazil. Sorry, the next. Yeah. We started with a simple experiment. We laid flower strips along the edges, but also in the middle of the field, as you can see in this picture. We saw significantly more natural enemies when compared to monoculture. You see it in the small pictures on the left above, in the left side. The white spots are the natural enemies. And when I say we, I also mean the researchers of the WUR. For us, it's very important that we work together with the researchers of WUR, because we can see what we see and say it to our neighbor farmers, but it's very important to have some evidence. After this simple experiment, we shift to another design of the whole field. You see it on the left, in the left picture. This is 45 hectares from one crop in the field to 8 crops that are more divided over the field in smaller strips. And we tested different strip width, 6, 12, and 24 meters. And the research shows that the narrower the strips, the more positive effect there is on natural pest control. And that's why we started from 4 years ago, a second field of 65 hectares, where we continue with only 6 meter strips. And 6 meters fit well with the width of our machinery, because that was one of our requirements. We really like to use the same machinery and don't have to have a lot of new investments. And 3 years of research by WUR gives us very promising results. We have almost the same efficiency as a monoculture. The yield is the same or even better. we are less vulnerable for pests and diseases, and there is more biodiversity, more insects, and more species. So that's why we continue with our experiments. And for example, on the right side, you see our agroforestry. We started that 2 years ago, and we grow rows of hazel trees and blocks of biodiversity in combination with strip cropping, also on the 6 meters. And we started this year a project to find out whether and how solar energy production and strip cropping, including flower strips, permanent flower strips, can go hand in hand with maintaining or even improving biodiversity. And this is another example. We will start with this field this year. Another example of how we want to integrate agriculture and nature. And we do this together with a nature conservation organization. Okay, well, what is our nature-based solution and what have we learned so far? Well, I think it's the same conclusion as Jonas told us, because I have written down our nature-based solution is to shift from a simple monocultural system to a more complex, diversified system. And we do that, I think, first because we apply the organic principles as a base. We introduce crop diversification in time and space, like strip cropping, agroforestry. We use permanent flower strips in the field. We use cover crops. After harvesting our main crop, we sow cover crops. And we include perennial crops such as trees and shrubs in the strip cropping. And it's what we are doing now, and I hope in the next years we will develop more nature-based solutions. Very important, what we have learned the last 3 years is crop diversity itself is very important, and it matters less which crop is next to each other, because that was the main research, what are good neighbors. But when you look at the positive effect for the system, it's about diversity. And of course, from a farmer perspective, the really practical point of view, it does matter which crop is next to each other, because we have still some challenges. A very important one in our strip cropping is some challenges about the mechanization, how to irrigate on a very efficient way, to apply fertilizer, and how to harvest. Sometimes you can harvest within the strip, but sometimes you have to use the neighbor strip, and well, there we have some practical challenges there sometimes. I think now only 6 to 10% of what we are growing is grown in a diversified system. So we still have more than 90% monoculture. So we really like to continue with strip cropping in our other fields, but well, we have to really do a good thinking about that and make a good plan. We have some challenges because in the organic farming you use more tillage when you are not compared to when you are not organic, and we have a lot of nests of farmland birds, and we don't want to disturb them. That's a challenge. We have questions about our cover crops, which one fit in our system, and how to let the field green during winter times and be on time for a good sowing bed. I don't know the word in English, I'm sorry. And we have some trouble with deers and hares in our hazelnut trees. So, and I could list a lot of other challenges, very practical challenges we have. Yeah, I think this was my last slide. Thank you for everyone for listening. And I really appreciate that you are part of the student challenge, because we really like diversity in the field, but we also like diversity of students, because you're all bringing your own skills and knowledge. And it's very important for the future. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't hear you, Yasmin.
And I kept saying to everyone to turn their microphone on, but I'm the one that did not do it. Thank you so much, Rosemarie. Those are very, very wise words. And today we actually also published an interview with Rosemarie on the NFP Connect website. And later on, we will also publish it on Ver. But I will also put the link in the chat so you can check out the work of Erv and Hamish. Thank you so much. And next, I would like to introduce you to Stephen Bright-Sakwa. Stephen is the co-founder of the social enterprise Bees and Trees Uganda. They are empowering local farming and targeting deforestation at the same time. Stephen has recently been named as a 2025 Young Global Changer, an impressive result. Congratulations, Stephen. Stephen joined the Youth Food Lab in 2023. It's an incubator program that the winning teams of the Food Systems Innovation Challenge will be invited for as well. Before we start with the presentation of Stephen, we will start with a short video.
What we are doing is to motivate farmers to reintegrate trees in their farms. We fundraise, give them modern beehives, as well as trees which act as forage for the bees.
Bees and Trees project is supporting us to set up a project where you can plant nursery bed, and we can also plant indigenous trees. So this nursery and the trees which we shall be having there will help us to get some income and to support us, the women of Wapukiri Empowered Group. Trees and the bees go hand in hand. Without a tree, you can't have a bee.
Thank you so much. Can I invite you, Stephen, to the stage? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Yasmin. Please confirm if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. So it's really an honor to be here to share with you about our work in Uganda. Once again, my name is Stephen Bright-Sakwa, and I'm a co-founder at Bees and Trees Uganda. Bees and Trees is a youth-led social enterprise that motivates farmers to reintegrate trees in their farms through incentives. Now, we started Bees and Trees together with my colleague, Samantha. She's not here, but at least you can meet her virtually via the picture there. And I'll dive straight into the problem that we are trying to address. It's a problem of land degradation. It's a problem of deforestation, and this is driven by the need to expand agriculture fields, but also because of the notion that the farmers in these regions have that trees cannot exist with crops. So they often cut down trees in order to grow food crops, and that is causing a lot of problems. In most cases, when we talk about food systems that are not sustainable and their impacts, we can talk about things like diseases, slow death, but here we even have very direct impacts like landslides. I always look at this picture and it speaks quite a lot. This is a landslide right here. And this part of the hill is the side of the community. The other side is a national park. So you wonder why there is a landslide here and it's not on the other side. Of course, I'm not saying landslides are only driven by agricultural practices. There's always a lot of factors at play, but still this is also a very big contribution. So these are some of the direct impacts that happen when people practice agriculture that is not sustainable. This is a very serious landslide. It was captured during our documentary with DWTV. And we've lost quite a number of people in the last decade. When you look at numbers, it's staggering. So when we talk about the impacts of food systems on the environment, sometimes it's this serious. It's not only about the food, the poisoning, and all that. So we came up with an idea, and I'm happy to let you know that this idea started when me and Samantha participated in the 2022 Nature-Based Solutions Challenge by Wageningen University. I must say we were really privileged to have such a high starting gear with a recognized university. So maybe that has also helped in pushing our development. So we participated, and our idea was really around how do we motivate these farmers to reintegrate trees in their farms because they have cut them down. You can't just go back and tell them, okay, plant trees, adopt agroforestry, because they already have a mindset that is not very positive about trees. So the question that we had to answer was, how do we motivate them to reintegrate these trees? And that's how we came up with the idea of beekeeping, because there was also a livelihood problem. People only depended on subsistence agriculture, and it was very vulnerable to climate change disasters. So just to go into details about our solution, we motivate farmers to reintegrate trees into their farms through incentives. So what we do is basically we fundraise and then give them modern beehives as well as coffee for those who want it. So this motivates them to plant coffee shade trees as well as bee forage species. But this time we train them on how to do it with agroforestry principles to ensure that the competition is not too much, the trees are well spaced, even the bee forage species. So over time, we have developed into a social enterprise. We are fully registered, and now we even offer the market linkages. When the farmers harvest honey, we buy it from them, add value, and sell to end consumers. The same applies to coffee. And what we are now doing is giving premium prices for our farmers who are practicing coffee agroforestry. If the price of a kilogram is $3, for us we are giving $4, so that it's an incentive for them to continue practicing sustainable agriculture. But we don't stop there. We also train them about climate smart practices. We train them about shade management, because that's a very big issue, especially with coffee farmers. So we try as much as possible to give them those skills so that they don't cut down the trees, but rather maintain them in a good shape that also encourages the crops to grow, because we need everything. So the income that they get from this honey and the coffee is also something that helps them during periods when they make losses, especially as a result of climate-related disasters. So this is one way of also building climate change adaptation and resilience of the farmers that we are working with. So we've made our humble contribution so far. We've been donating beehives to farmers. We've been planting with them trees, so we are restoring the land. We are supporting women's groups and youth, as well as schools. We are also looking at accommodating the young generation. So we have a new book. It's called Bees and Trees Storybook. We will share it with you once it is ready, and engaging with different stakeholders to see that we restore these landscapes that have been degraded due to agriculture. So for our work, we've been recognized at the global and local level, which we are really proud of. But most importantly is that we are bringing smiles to farmers, to children in schools, as well as different stakeholders. So that is what I can share for the slides, and I thank you. But maybe before I close, I wanted to share, someone asked me a question about what opportunities I see in food systems that young people can take on in Uganda. Of course, I don't want to put ideas into your mind. It's about you to look at your local landscape, the agriculture system, and identify the problem, and also identify the solutions that can be feasible locally. But one thing I can talk about is really agroecology, because what we are seeing, initially our practices were really agroecological, but over time we are shifting so much into monocultures. We are shifting into too much agrochemicals, and it's not a surprise because the soils are becoming exhausted. So if we can really motivate these farmers to go back, be it through policy and advocacy, be it through markets, I think we have a very huge potential when it comes to organic food, but then the markets are not so good. So those are areas that could be explored by the students, but again, don't limit yourself, and let this be based on your local food systems, because even in Uganda, we have different contexts. It's not the same across the board. So with that said, I thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Those were very, very powerful messages that you shared with the audience. And good to know that there will be a storybook coming up. I'm very curious about that as well. So next, I would like to introduce to our last speaker of the day, Corné van Doren. Corné is an expert in sustainable diets with a PhD in qualification of sustainable and healthy menus and diets worldwide. He has been working at the Netherlands Nutrition Center for over 14 years and is currently working as a senior advisor in sustainable diets for WWF in the Netherlands and as a senior researcher on ecological nutrition at Wageningen University Research. Thank you for being here, Corné, with us today.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Yes, as a consumer, I'm connected to Brazil with consuming soy, and to Uganda drinking coffee, and to the Netherlands eating vegetables. So we're all part of one global food system. And as WWF, we're working on new visions and puzzling how is the food system connected to each other and how can we find solutions. So as a nature conservation organization, we not only want to conserve nature in a traditional way, because the food system is the largest pressure on nature. So we want to address the drivers of nature loss: food production, food consumption, and food waste. As we've seen, deforestation in Brazil, we've seen landslides in Uganda, pesticide use in the Netherlands. They all have negative impact on biodiversity. So we want to change the loss of biodiversity and restoring biodiversity. And we've seen very nice examples how we can do that by different ways of farming. So we want to share. I want to share with you two tools we have developed as WWF. The first one is our planet-based diets website. So it's a science-based platform to encourage diets that are good for people and for the planet. And you can find on this website background information on planet-based diet, on bending the curve of biodiversity loss, on local solutions you can adapt, but also you find a very nice diet calculator. I give you one example. This is from Colombia. You can create your own diet in this tool, or look at the typical Colombian diet, and you see on the left the portion sizes of the diet, and on the right you see the impacts on biodiversity loss, on greenhouse gas emissions, land use, water use, and eutrophication. So you can calculate your own diet impact and see the effect of your diet on the natural system. So if you can change that, you can have also nature-based solution for supporting with your diet natural solutions. So if you change, for instance, in this diet the amount of meat to a half portion a week, then you see that all bars are green and that you are within the planetary boundaries of our Earth, the ecological boundaries. So with the diets, we are connected to the farmers and the food system, and we can change by consuming in a different way. We can change also the whole food system. But it is even more complex. Our other tool is the Great Food Puzzle. It's a website, it's an interactive website with also reports on it, and it's looking at the bigger picture, the Great Food Puzzle. So, and we're also looking at place-based solutions to help scale national action. On this website, you can find all different types of food systems. So we have made a systematic way to look at countries and look at what kind of food systems they have. So Brazilian is a green system. Africa, we see a lot of yellow systems. But in the Netherlands, we have a purple system. That means a system with lower concentrations of biodiversity hotspots, with industrialized agriculture, enough land and water resources, and a high food security. But in other countries, you see a high dependency of trade, or high biodiversity hotspots, or low food security. And on that web page, you can find different solutions fitting into these types of food systems, also success stories and background information of these food systems. We've also published a background paper, and we have interviewed a lot of experts looking at levers to change the system. And we have discovered 20 levers. You see on the left, you see levers based on government solutions. We have the green ones on nature-based solutions. We have trade solutions. We have technological solutions and more. solution based on education. And we see 4 different pathways. The first one is optimization, higher yields, better technology, better combination of crops, etc. The second one is nature positive ways of production. And we've seen in those presentations good examples how we can integrate solutions in our agriculture system. The third solution is more looking at smallholder farmers, how they can get access to the market, how they can better price so that they can also work in a more nature positive way. And the fourth one is enabling conditions more on the financial and trade systems. So taxes, better taxes to support positive solutions instead of fossil fuels, etc. And if you look at the website of thegreatfoodpuzzle.com, you can also find deep dives into countries. I give you 3 examples. We have a deep dive into the Netherlands. We have also online people from Asia. So we have a deep dive from the Philippines. We have a deep dive from Pakistan. And we're also showing some case studies with videos. For the Netherlands, we have a video about growing protein crops in food forests, in pulses, etc. And also an example of the protein transition towards more plant-based diets in the Netherlands. But you can find on that website also solutions for your local area. So, summarizing, we as WWF support nature-based solutions. We support nature-positive agriculture, and we're working on with farmers and with nature to live in harmony with nature as people. And we support you also as students with different tools, so such as the Planet-Based Diets webpage, the Great Food Puzzle, and the Food Forward tool. Thank you for your attention.
Oh, Yasmin, your audio.
Again, sorry, I will pass the word to Miriam. Thank you so much, Corné.
Yeah, thank you very much, Yasmin. And thank you, Corné. Thank you to all the speakers today. I think we had a lot of examples and also inspiration today. And I'm very happy that there's so much science-based evidence in the Lighthouse Farms and then the science-based platform that Corné just presented. So use that also in finding the project that you want to apply or submit for this challenge. I will use 1 more minute to say what's next in the Q&A. If you have questions, please use the chat because we are still here. I will call the speakers on stage later, and then we can still answer some questions. So again, go to our website to register and upload your concept notes. Coordinators are here. Let me know if you need the email address of your coordinator at your university. Info sessions are still going on. They are on the website. Thank you so much, partners. And with this, I want to end my final words, and I want to ask all the speakers to come to the stage again. And I want to invite the audience to ask for questions. And if not, then we can take maybe one of the speakers has one big question to one of the other speakers, or maybe Yasmin.
Well,
okay, sorry.
No, if there is no one that is answering the question and asking questions, I do have a question for Stephen. You have donated a lot of beehives. Who is producing those beehives? It was just a question that popped up into my mind when listening to your presentation.
Yeah, so there is actually, thank you so much for that question. There's actually people who have workshops for these beehives. We are working with World of Bees. It's a company. It's an association to the main coordinator of beekeeping organizations in Uganda. So we also buy from them because they are certified. They get the timber to make beehives from sustainable sources. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. And I see that Osama has a question, but we will probably wait until the question appears in the chat. But in the meantime, if Corné has a question, someone?
Okay. Yes, I wonder if it's if there are problems with the market access for you in Uganda for the coffee and the honey, or is there a market and do you get a good price?
Yeah, so I have to say for honey, the market is still low. People are not so much into consuming honey. Might find a family consuming like maybe half a kilogram of honey in a year. So it's still very low, and few of them do that. Most of them actually do it because it's medicine, especially for the children if they have like a cold or cough or something like that, but not just consumption. And then for coffee, the local consumption is also still low. So we are relying mainly on exporting. But now there's also a big threat with the EUDR. I think you've heard about the EU regulation on deforestation. And that's why we are again trying to help coffee farmers to adopt agroforestry and also manage the trees well on their farm to regulate the shade.
Well, thank you. As I've seen there, one big question came in from a student from Brawijaya University in Indonesia, wondering if they had a project. If I read it correctly, they have a project that looks a little bit like the Bees and Trees project in Uganda, and they are asking us now if they can proceed with the project despite the similarities to the Speakers project. Well, yes, you can definitely continue, and maybe you can even get some inspiration from Stephen on an online call. I see him nodding, so please ask us for it. Every area has its own challenges, and I'm sure you can also make up an innovation in your own area. So yeah, please continue with your project and contact us. And your coordinator Uma, maybe you already met her. With that, we are already behind schedule. It's 3 minutes past 3, and so maybe we should close this session. And well, thank you so much, speakers, and we will keep you in touch. Then we will in September we will have the big finals in Wageningen. So if you're around, you are most definitely invited to come. We will send the slides to the audience tomorrow, and we also have a recording, so you can still look back. And yeah, don't hesitate to be. Oh, sorry, I now see that Osama also handed in a question. I did not see that, Osama. Sorry, I see that Osama is saying my question has not been answered. So do we still have time, Rosemary? It's a question to Hemus. I did saw some wind turbines in the Netherlands, reclaimed sea land. My question is simply, does nature-based solutions also integrate technology of wind or solar energy?
Yes, we do, because we are using more and more machineries which are autonomous and work on solar panels. So in organic farming, you have a lot of weeding to do, and that costs a lot of labor, and we don't have enough labor anymore. And so we're using more and more small robot weeders, and they have solar panels, and so that's an example of how we use sustainable energy in our system. Yeah, and another example is that we do strip cropping and not only with crops, with together with Vattenfall, with solar panels who can rotate with the sun. And well, it's an experiment that we can combine agriculture and energy production together on the land.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so we will end this session, and I want to tell the students good luck with writing your concept notes, and yeah, we are eager to read them, and good luck,
Yeah.
and thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you for the speakers.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye. Thank you.